All right, time to move on to Tickety-Boo News. Well, I'm not so sure what's tickety-boo about this, except that it makes me laugh uproariously, and I think that alone is something that is just incredibly worthwhile. Stormy Daniels has brought out her memoir, and as we might have imagined, it is a coarse, depressing, useless memoir of the fact that Donald Trump did what we all could have guessed he did, which is slept with a porn star, right? But she goes on to these incredible descriptions, these graphic descriptions, which I've now, to my great shame, actually read, in which she describes his junk. She describes, Trump's tower, and what she says is that his junk looked like Toad from Mario Kart. And as a gamer, I have to tell you, this just broke my heart because I love all the Mario games. The Mario games were like some of the first really great games I played. I mean, I've played video games since they were invented, so I've played them all. But Super Mario was one of the greatest, and I cannot stand the fact that from now on, when I see Toad, smiling little Toad, in Mario Kart, I've got to think of Donald Trump's junk. But the thing that makes me laugh about this, okay, is how the fact that the news is covering this, the news media is covering this as if this was important. Here's Jake Tapper. Like, what happened to you, Jake? I mean, Jake, you had a career, you had dignity, you were somebody, now you're doing this. Listen to this.
Lots of books claim to be tell-alls, but they don't follow through. Stormy Daniels' new book about her life? It's not that book. Wow, she tells all. From the details of her career in porn, to, yes, being in bed with the future president of the United States and even being able to pick certain parts of him out of a lineup and then being threatened to shut up about it. All these accounts are in there.
Jake. Here's the funny thing to me. I am old enough to remember when they didn't even report that the president was having an affair, in the Oval Office at the JFK was banging everybody who walked through there. I mean, like he had two aides. They called them Fiddle and Faddle. That was their names for them, who they were skinny dipping in the White House pool together. And the press knew all this stuff, and they just didn't report it. And when they first started to report on, back in the 80s, I would say it was, when they first started to report on the sexual shenanigans of powerful people, powerful men mostly, when they first started to report on that, there was this big debate about whether it was relevant, important news because it was the character issue. And I made fun of this. I wrote this novel, True Crime, which became the Clint Eastwood movie. And in that, he says the character issue is just a way of reporting about sex. All we want to do is report about sex. Why? Because people want to read about sex, because people are salacious and they're judgmental and they're gossipy and they want to talk about sex, so they will turn sex on. So while they were sitting there with their serious faces, just like today, they're sitting there with Brett Kavanaugh with their serious faces when it's all about politics, when they were talking about the character issue back in the 80s, they were really just talking about sex. That's all they wanted to do. So now we have moved on, and now we have the horrible concept stuck in our head forever. Like I used to, I've been walking around for days going like beep, 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 because I'm singing the Mario theme song because this thing is stuck in my head. And now forever we have it stuck in our head that Donald Trump is walking around with Toadstool from Mario Kart in his pants. And that's the character issue. That's the serious character issue. On top of this, the guy, one of the people who wrote for Sesame Street now says, yes, I'm a gay man and Bert and Ernie were gay. They're puppets. They're puppets. They haven't even got Toadstool. They're just puppets. They don't have to be gay. They can just be pals. They can just be friends. And if you want to think of them as gay, go ahead, but leave us alone. Leave us alone. Your sex life doesn't matter to us. It doesn't matter to us. And by the way, Frank Oz said, he's the guy who created Bert and Ernie, and he says they're not gay. They're friends. Of course, they're just friends. We saw it on the air. They were pals. They were friends. These guys with their obsession about sex, they will ruin everything. It really does. It really does. You have a right to be entertained. You have a right to watch Bert and Ernie. You have a right to play Mario Kart without these clowns getting in your head with their filthy ideas. All right, I got to say goodbye. It's been great. We will have Glenn Beck here tomorrow, will we not? I believe we will. The great Glenn Beck. I'm Andrew Klavan. This is The Andrew Klavan Show. We'll see you then. The Andrew Klavan Show is produced by Robert Sterling. Executive producer, Jeremy Boring. Senior producer, Jonathan Hay. Our supervising producer is Mathis Glover. Technical producer, Austin Stevens. Edited by Alex Zingaro. Audio is mixed by Mike Cormina. Hair and makeup is by Jesua Alvera. And our animations are by Cynthia Angulo and Jacob Jackson. The Andrew Klavan Show is a Daily Wire Forward Publishing production. Copyright Forward Publishing 2018.